Hello viewers, welcome to the Bachelor course of Population Studies. In the last lecture, we discussed about child labor. Today, we will discuss about child nutrition and education in our country. Both education and health are necessary for early childhood development. These are equally necessary for enhancing the productivity and hence the contribution of the children in the society as well as the economy when they will grow up as adults. Education and health are too closely related with each other. Combined focus on these two issues actually increases the combined outcomes many a times. A healthy child also gives good academic results. Thus, the nutrition and health has a positive impact on education outcomes. Similarly, children with education can be easily taught about cleanliness, hygiene and healthy living styles from the early age. Vaccination and any other health drive is easier to operate from the schools, and more children are coming to schools, the wider will be the coverage and the effectiveness of such drives. Adequate nutrition is essential in early childhood to ensure healthy growth, proper organ formation and function, a strong immune system and neurological and cognitive development. Economic growth and human development require well-nourished populations who can learn new skills, think critically and contribute to their communities. Child malnutrition impacts cognitive function and contributes to poverty through impeding individuals' ability to enhance human capabilities and thus lead productive lives. In this perspective, it is important to look at the attainment of these capabilities in early childhood. Let us first of all look at the status of child education in India, and we will first discuss about early childhood care and education in India. There are broadly 4 stages of formal school education in India. These are the primary, upper primary, secondary and higher secondary stages of education. The pre-primary stage is currently not a part of the formal education structure. The current policy framework envisages ensuring access to early childhood care and education opportunities mainly through the Integrated Child Development Services, popularly called as ICDS, which is specially targeted at providing childcare services to the marginalized and vulnerable groups through a nationwide network of Anganwadi centers. Early childhood care and education encompasses the inseparable elements of care, health, nutrition, play and early learning with a perspective and enabling environment. These services in India are also available through private and non-governmental organizations. Between 2001-2 and 2012-13, the number of children receiving nutrition and pre-primary education under ICDS program significantly increased. The number of children receiving supplementary nutrition can be observed from this figure. The figure shows the number of children receiving supplementary nutrition in two different age groups, that is age group 6 months to 2+ years and age group 3 to 5+ years. It can be seen that the total number of children of age 6 months to 2+ years who received supplementary nutrition increased from 14.5 million to 42.1 million during the period 2001 to 2012-13, while the total number of children of age 3 to 6 years who received supplementary nutrition increased from 17 million to 35.3 million. Thus, the total number of children in the age group 6 months to 5+ years covered under the supplementary nutrition component of the ICDS scheme increased from 31.5 million to 77.4 million during the period 2001 to 2012-13. Similarly, we can also notice an increase in number of children receiving pre-primary education in the Anganwadi centers under the ICDS. This can be observed from the next figure. The figure shows that the total number of children of age 3 to 5+ years who received preschool education in Anganwadi centers almost doubled. During this period, the girls who received preschool education in Anganwadis increased from 12 million to 17.3 million, which means an increase of 5.3 million, while boys who received preschool education increased from 12.5 million to 18 million, that is an increase of 5.5 million. Preschool education programs are also run by national and local NGOs which get financial assistance from grant in aid schemes of the government and national and international aid agencies. These NGOs play an important role in reaching children from socially and economically disadvantaged groups like tribal people, migrant laborers, slum dwellers and rural children in difficult circumstances. Apart from it, the well-to-do sections, particularly in the urban areas, also send their children to the preschools. The combined enrollment in these types of preschool has undergone a phenomenal increase during the last decade. For this, we can see the next figure. The figure shows the trends on gross enrollment ratio in pre-primary schools estimated by the Global Monitoring Reports on Education for All by UNESCO. We can see that the gross enrollment ratio in pre-primary schools in India has increased from 18% in 1999 to 55% in 2010. Although this increase is substantial, but it is too low as compared to the developed countries, where the pre-primary school enrollment varies between 85 to 100%. Actually, the pre-primary school enrollment is much lower in the poor countries as compared to the developed ones, but at the same time, it is much more important to enroll the pre-primary children in the former than the latter, as the children from the poor households need much of this care provided institutionally than the children from the richer households who are duly taken care by their own families. The economic standards of the households and the nations strongly affect the educational and health attainments. The goal of education for all cannot be achieved in the developing economies without public support. In India, the children who had never been to school was about 33% for the poorest families as compared to less than 3% for the richest families in 2005. However, after India started the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan for universalization of primary education in 2001, the things changed for better, at least for enrollment in primary education, even though the issues related with dropouts at later age and the quality of education are still cause of concern. Hence, it is important to look at the status of formal education for children in India. So, let us see the status of elementary education in India. The elementary education in India constitutes the primary as well as the upper primary stage of education. Though we can find some regional variations about the number of years counted in elementary education, yet all the states are trying to converge the national definition of 8 years of education being considered as elementary education. The gross enrollment ratios in primary, which have an official age of 6 to 11 years, the upper primary with official age of 11 to 14 years, and elementary education as a whole, that is official age of 6 to 14 years, are shown in this table on your screen. We can easily see from this table that the gross enrollment ratio in primary stage has increased from 95.7% in 2000-2001 to 116% in 2010-11 and then to 101.4% in 2013-14. Here, it must be remembered that gross enrollment ratio can be higher than 100% if the students higher than the official age are enrolled in respective classes. Since after inception of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, all the out of school children were being brought to schools, therefore, after 2001, we can see a continuous rise in gross enrollment ratio in primary education till 2010-11. And after most of the children have already been enrolled in the schools, this ratio would gradually decline, reaching 100%. We can also see that the gross enrollment ratio for the girls grows much rapidly vis-a-vis boys, as more of them were initially out of school as compared to the boys. We can see that in 2000-2001, nearly 86% of the girls were enrolled for primary schools as compared to about 105% for boys. The gender disparities were more overt in case of upper primary education and elementary education as a whole. We can easily see from this table that during 2000-2001, the gross enrollment ratio for the upper primary classes was merely 49.9% for girls as compared to 66.7% for boys. This had led to a gross enrollment ratio of 90.3% for boys and 72.4% for girls in elementary education in 2000-2001. However, after adopting and implementing the strategy of universalization of education, not only the gross enrollment ratios increased at both the stages of elementary education, but it also tilted the gender gap in favor of the girls. In 2013-14, the gross enrollment ratios for girls in primary, upper primary and elementary education were respectively 102.7%, 92.8% and 99.1% as compared to 100.2%, 86.3% and 95.1% for boys in the same order. However, the net enrollment ratios are yet lower than 100% for each category of elementary education. It shows that still all of the children are not being enrolled for elementary education. This can be observed from this figure. The figure shows that about 87% of boys and 90% of girls of elementary school age are enrolled, which shows that despite the policy of universalization of education, the children of the same age group as that of the official age are not joining the schools, and a higher ratio as depicted by the gross enrollment ratio in table 1 has been due to the late entrants. The gap is wider in case of upper primary as compared to the primary school education. This is due to the fact that as the years pass by, many of the enrolled students simply drop out. A detailed picture about the dropouts at elementary level can be observed from this figure. The figure shows that more of the students drop out at the primary level, and among the primary a large number of them drop out at class 5. Then onwards in upper primary a fewer of them drop out. The figure shows that the dropout at the primary stage is 4.67% as compared to 3.13% at the upper primary level, resulting in a combined dropout of 4.17% at the elementary level. The class wise dropout rates show that 4.83% leave the schools at class 1 only, and 9.47% leave at class 5. Actually, it is the late entry into the first grade of primary school which poses a major barrier to achieve universal primary education, as children who start school late are more likely to drop out before they complete the primary stage. Late entry is more prevalent among the poor households, as due to lack of knowledge as well as resources, they are less likely to benefit from the government programs until they are not approached by the government officials. This also points towards the need of the policy attention to spread the awareness campaigns along with special attention towards the specific needs of the late entrants. Poverty also has a great impact on nutrition and health status of the children. Therefore, let us see the nutrition and health status of children in India. In this perspective, first of all, we will discuss child nutrition and health in India. Adequate nutrition is critical to child development. The nutritional standards during the early childhood have lifelong consequences. Nutrition and health status of the children are important for optimal growth, health and development. If the children are not taken care of properly, they are also easily vulnerable to growth retardation, micronutrient deficiencies and common childhood illness such as diarrhea and acute respiratory infections which further impede their normal growth process. Lack of nutrition among the children results in problems of stunting, wasting and underweight among the children. Here it is important to know about the concept of stunting, that is low height for age, wasting, that is low weight for height, and underweight, that is low weight for age. According to World Health Organization, each of these nutritional status indicators is expressed in standard deviation units, that is the Z scores, from the median values of the reference population. Children whose height for age Z score is below -2 standard deviation from the median of the reference population are considered stunted, while those below -3 standard deviations from the median of the reference population are considered to be severely stunted. Stunting reflects chronic malnutrition among the children. The weight for height index measures body mass in relation to the body length and describes current nutritional status. Children whose Z score is below -2 standard deviation from the median of the reference population are considered thin or wasted for their height, and whose weight for height is below -3 standard deviations from the median of the reference population are considered to be severely wasted. Further, weight for age is a composite index of height for age and weight for height. It takes into account both acute and chronic malnutrition. Children whose weight for age is below -2 standard deviations from the median of the reference population are classified as underweight. Children whose weight for age is below -3 standard deviations from the median of the reference population are considered to be severely underweight. The National Family Health Survey 3, which provides the latest data up to 2005-06, shows that in India, close to 45% of children below age 5 are stunted and underweight. This can be observed from this figure. The figure shows that in India, among all the children under age 5, about 24% of the boys and 23% of girls are severely stunted, and about 48% of both of the girls and boys are stunted. Further, 42% of boys and 43% of girls are underweight, and there are about 15% of boys and 16% of girls who are severely underweight. We can also see that the problem of undernutrition is almost similar among the boys and the girls. Another important indicator of nutrition status of the children is prevalence of anemia among the children below age 5. Anemia is characterized by a low level of hemoglobin in the blood. Hemoglobin is necessary for transporting oxygen from the lungs to the other tissues and organs of the body, which further has an important effect on the cognitive performance, behavioral and motor development, coordination, language development and scholastic achievements of the children. Anemia is the main cause of increased morbidity from infectious diseases among children. The prevalence of anemia among the children can be observed from this table. In this table, the children with hemoglobin level of 10 to 10.9 gram per deciliter are defined as mildly anemic, with hemoglobin level of 7 to 9.9 gram deciliter are termed as moderately anemic, and those with less than 7 gram deciliter are termed as severely anemic. The table shows that about 40% of children aged 6 to 59 months suffer from moderate anemia, about 26% from mild anemia, about 3% from severe anemia. Whereas the moderate anemia is same for males as well as females, mild anemia is higher for females than males, while the occurrence of severe anemia is higher for male children. However, more of the children in rural areas and from poorer segments of the society suffer from mild and moderate anemia than their urban and relatively wealthier counterparts. However, the proportion of stunted, wasted, underweight and anemic children has declined according to the National Family Health Survey 3 as compared to the previous surveys, that is the National Family Health Survey 2, which has shown an improvement in nutritional standards of children in India during this period. So, let us come to the conclusion of this lecture. To sum up, we can say that the education and health are not only the most important socio-economic factors that are known to significantly influence individual behavior and attitudes, but are also fundamental indicators of a country's level of human capital development. Education and health are achieved during a lifelong process, and the standards achieved in the earlier stages of life always bear better returns that go longer in life. If a person is deprived of education and nutrition in its early childhood, he or she may carry that gap all through his or her life. We have seen that the attainments on these grounds are miserable in rural areas and among the poor segments of the population. Therefore, in order to achieve the goal of universalization of education and better health standards of children today and adults of the present as well as the future generations, it is important that the needs of the deprived section of the society are addressed with utmost urgency. Only then we can have a healthy and prosperous society. That's all with today's lecture. I hope you must have found it interesting. Next time we will have a wide discussion on National Family Health Surveys in India. Till then, have a nice time. Bye bye.